Welcome to another episode of Echoes of Anne, Youthful Voices, a podcast by the U.S. Anne Frank Youth Network. Today we are speaking with Maryam, a British college student and a member of the International Anne Frank Youth Network, about identity. Hello, Maryam. First, could we start with you introducing yourself for our audience?
Hi, I'm Maryam. I'm 17 years old and I'm from the UK and I'm a college student. I got involved with the Anne Frank Youth Network last summer, and I was a part of the International Youth Network in Amsterdam, and that's how I kind of got involved with these guys.
Lovely. So my first question is, how would you define identity?
To me, identity is what shapes the way in which I understand myself and navigate my way through life. To me, it brings a sense of self, purpose and belonging. And for me, I feel like identity is something that's quite unique to the person. And I feel like it's something that only we can control. And as humans, it's something that's quite fluid. And I feel like as we grow, so does our identity. And one thing about identity that really sticks out to me is that, it's something that although people can try and take it from you, no one can really take it from you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It is something so inherent to you. Do you feel that your identity has influenced your involvement with the Youth Network, or do you think it influenced you choosing to get involved, or anything of the sort?
Oh gosh, definitely. As a Muslim and as a South Asian woman of colour, my identity has definitely been the driving force for why I got involved with the Anne Frank Youth Network. Through learning about Anne Frank in school and stuff and reading her diary, I really resonated with the way her sense of self changed through every entry. It really captured that girlhood essence of her, and learning about aspects of her identity, like her passions and her thoughts, it always led me to think about how I want to be able to do something with my life, because she always had so many dreams and her life was stolen from her. So I feel like through learning about her, she's kind of what inspired me to get involved with the Anne Frank Youth Network, but also it was aspects of her identity that resonated with mine that really got me to choose to get involved.
I love that. I kind of felt the same way with reading her diary, especially the girlhood. She is just so human and such a teenage girl, and you can't help but connect.
I loved reading about her school diary entries when she was talking about her opinions of each person in her class and how she was going around talking about each person. That was so funny to me.
It was. Okay, next. Do you think that your background influences how you express your identity to the world?
Definitely. I'd say identity is not limited to that and limited to your background and your experiences, but I do definitely think that it plays a factor in how you express yourself. For example, being a Muslim is a very big part of my identity, and during prayer and stuff, the way in which I reflect myself, I'd be wearing my hijab and things like that. So yeah, I'd say definitely it is a big part in self-expression as well as your identity.
And kind of a little off that, connecting to that, intersectionality is such an important thing in understanding identity. How do you feel that using intersectionality as a framework impacts how you've understood yourself? And do you think that using intersectionality intentionally has impacted that?
Definitely. I'd say intersectionality, it was a huge part of my life growing up, because when I was younger, my friend group consisted of two girls that weren't from the same background as me. So growing up, just when I'd stay at their houses and stuff, just being able to see different experiences and different walks of life that people have, and how being both Muslim and South Asian, how my lived experience was quite different to my friends. I'd say it's a very big thing talking about identity and the different issues that come with it, and the prejudice that you may face based off certain things, and how certain parts of your identity you're able to hide from the world, but certain parts you can't hide from the world. Your sexuality, it can be hidden in a way, but in certain aspects it can't. It's it's a big thing, and I think that it really does shape the way in which young people grow up. living those different experiences because of different aspects of your identity, it can have a negative toll on people, but it can also be really empowering and impactful. Like being able to discover like communities in which you feel as though you belong, and being able to be a part of more than one different community in which you feel you belong. That is a really beautiful thing that comes with it. So obviously there's ups and downs to it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. You kind of mentioned being younger and young people. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self about identity and self-discovery, what would it be?
Never to limit it to just one thing or to just one ideal of what it should be. Because growing up, I'd say I definitely thought that I had to view myself in a certain way and put myself in one box. But being able to, especially like the Anne Frank Youth Network this summer, that was a big part of me being able to kind of like see outside of that version of myself and be able to realize that as people, we shouldn't limit ourselves to these binaries and to these like limitations. It's not, first of all, I don't think it's human, because we are evolving people every day. But I also think that it's really important to see more than one viewpoint and to be able to put yourself into other people's shoes.
Definitely. I think it's interesting that you talked about the binary, and like thinking outside of that. One of my questions was going to ask you about, since you're a member of the International Youth Network, talking about national identity versus identity as a global citizen and balancing that and kind of how you see yourself in relation to both your national identity and the world at large, especially with you mentioning being like, was it Southeast Asian woman or
South Asian, yeah.
South Asian? Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Being a South Asian woman of color but living in Britain, how do you see yourself balancing and existing outside of the binary between your national identity and the identity as a global citizen?
Growing up, it definitely was very hard to be able to do that, and like to be able to kind of have to like code switch definitely and things like that. But I would say that for me, I find it like it's kind of just like a part of the way like that I live, like being able to be part of more than one kind of like culture, if that makes sense. Because yeah, my whole family are South Asian, but living in Britain has obviously impacted that, and now we have different traditions and different things that other parts of my family members wouldn't be able to experience. So being able to kind of not limit myself to those binaries has been empowering. But I'd say growing up, I did have an issue with it at first, and it was hard for me to kind of be able to do that.
Yeah, that's really understandable. With the world being or becoming more interconnected, do you think that young people today have a stronger sense of international identity, or do you feel that you see really international like identities where you live? I'm sure it's a bit different with Europe, with the European Union, although I know Brexit, but it's a lot closer. But
Yeah, definitely. I'd say social media also plays such a big part in it. The world in itself is so much more connected now than it really ever has been before. And definitely just being able to like go to my college that I go to, I see so many different types of people, all like free mixing and like interacting with each other all the time. And that's actually a very big change from my high school, because my high school, I live in a very small town. So a lot of the people in my high school are all from the same background. So that change into college, it was really lovely for me. It was just being able to kind of like learn new things about different cultures and make new friends from different cultures. I love it, and I just think that that's a really, again, it's a beautiful part about being human and about being able to connect with other people from different parts of the world. It's a lovely thing.
I agree. I think there's so many like ways that experiencing new things, especially like in education settings, you get to learn so much from other people and their experiences. So cool. Do you feel that your identity or self-understanding is influenced by outside forces, whether it be like social media or even like your friend groups?
I definitely feel like there can be, and you can feel like there is a pressure for that to be the case. But I feel like, as I said before, identity is so much more unique than like the way in which most people see it to be. It's what you make of it, and really only you have the power to shape that and to say that, hey, this is part of my identity, this is part of me. So I feel like there has been times in which social media has made me kind of second guess myself and think that, oh, like, is this kind of socially acceptable and stuff like that. But in those moments, it's key to remind yourself that you need to live a life that will make you feel fulfilled and will make you feel happy. So social pressures and external pressures shouldn't take that away from you. You should stay true to yourself.
Yeah, kind of in line with that. One of my questions was going to be, what do you think young people need to understand about their identity, especially in a world that feels like it's changing so quickly? I'm assuming your answer would be that their identity can't be taken away from them. Would I be correct with that?
Yeah, I can expand on that if you want.
I
For
was going to
example,
add, yeah, you're welcome to expand. I was also going to add, like, not recommendations, but like tips or suggestions of like how to feel more secure in their identity.
yeah, definitely. I'd say one thing that kind of is what was my wake up call, in which realizing the importance of having a strong self of identity was again Anne Frank, and realizing how her identity was stripped from her, and how the fact that the Nazi regime, they all labeled her as a threat, and she was used as a scapegoat simply because of her faith and because of other people's intolerance. So we should be able to see that and recognize that other people, no matter how hard they try and take your identity away from you, Anne stayed so self-assured in her diary. She was so self-assured that she was going to be a writer, and she was so self-assured that she was Jewish. No matter what people said about her faith, no matter what slander they threw her way, she wasn't going to change that. So I think we can really look to her as an example as to why it's important to not let other people take your identity away from you and take your sense of being away from you, because it's the way in which we live our lives. Our lives are shaped by our identity, and how powerful is it that we are the only people that have the control to change our identity and to move forward with our identity.
Yeah, I think that's so lovely. I feel like you got such like a beautiful way of speaking about identity. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
um, my final question is about Anne. So she used her diary to express her thoughts, feelings, and explore herself and explore her identity. And I was just curious if you had a space where you explore or express your identity, whether it be more artistic or otherwise.
Yeah, I feel like I explore aspects of my identity every day, especially through writing. I love spoken word poetry. I write a lot myself, and I also love journaling. So explore aspects of myself through my writing all the time, whether that be just like word dumps on the paper or actual performance pieces that I've spent hours working on. Every little bit of writing helps. I feel like I'm just unloading like that weight off my shoulders when I'm writing onto the paper. I just feel that little bit lighter at the end of it. And sometimes I feel like it's hard for me to kind of vocally speak about the way I'm feeling to other people. So kind of writing that down and then speaking it out loud, even to nothing, even if it's just to my bedroom wall, it really makes me feel relieved. And yeah, it helps me calm down as well.
I love that. Just curious, did you start journaling before you read Anne's diary, or like what, even if it's not related to Anne, like what inspired you to start journaling?
I think what inspired me to start journaling really was from a young age at school. I kind of kept diaries since then. I always loved English and like making little stories. And then from there, I kind of just started writing odd diary entries here and there. But I definitely started to take it more seriously after reading Anne's diary. That's kind of what made me write more objectively, if that makes more sense, rather than writing solely from my own like feelings and thoughts. I kind of now like to write from a wider viewpoint.
That's great. That's all I had for you. I really appreciate getting to talk to you. I feel like you are like so cool. And you've
Thank you
got
so
like
much.
such a cool view of the world. I really enjoyed hearing from you.
Well, thank you so much. This was such a lovely experience. I'm so glad you guys gave me this opportunity.
Today, Maryam and I spoke about identity, about its limitless possibilities, and the inability of others to take away your identity. For more on our identity campaign, or to learn more about the U.S. Anne Frank Youth Network, check out our Instagram at us.AnneFrank Youth Network. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.